Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, everyone. It is wonderful to be able to see or virtually see you, or to be seen, I guess is a better way of. Oh my goodness, I'm super excited to be able to be with you on tonight. Listen, I'm hoping, number one, that all of you who are mothers or who have mothers or mother figures in your life, that yesterday Mother's Day was amazing for you, that you had an opportunity to love on and to share love and to give love and to receive love. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Whether you were remembering a loved one, whether you were celebrating a loved one, or you were being celebrated. I hope that it was wonderful. I hope it was great. I hope it was great. So listen, welcome to yet another episode, or not episode, another broadcast of Pain and Pews, Mental Health and Ministry. I am Chelselia Cookie Payne. I am the founder of Pain and Glory Incorporated, a 501c3 nonprofit organization located right here in metropolitan Atlanta. And our platform stands upon three major initiatives, and those are the first being domestic violence awareness and prevention. That is our flagship platform, and also women's health and wellness, which this entire week is National Women's Health Week. If you didn't know, now you know. This week is National Women's Health Week. So women's health and wellness is our platform, as well as what you're a part of right now, which is Pain and Pews Mental Health and Ministry, where it is our goal to bridge the gap between the faith and mental health community. And so we are delighted, we are honored, we're excited that you are here with us on tonight. Excited about that. I hope that you guys, listen, I hope you guys got a chance to be with us live this past Saturday as we celebrated the 11th year of hosting our Restoring the Bond Mother-Daughter Love event. I'm telling you, our two guest speakers, amazing. Amazing. When I tell you, no exaggeration, from the time that the time that we went off live, my phone continued to buzz and buzz and buzz, from instant messenger on Facebook to direct text messages to when I checked the email. There was so much wonderful feedback, and then when I went over to Instagram and just seeing just all the positive feedback of people who were having like these aha moments that were coming from all the great things that were shared from our guests, Alicia Thomas Morgan and Christina Johnson. If you happen to miss it, it is still here live, or available for you here on Facebook. It's going to be here on Facebook throughout the rest of May, and then it will be removed from Facebook, and you'll be able to catch it anytime on our website, painandglory.com, or on YouTube. It will be available there. But for the remainder of the month of May, it will be right here available to you. The replay available to you right here. Listen, not only was it an impactful time, not only were we blessed with the opportunity to get the mother-daughter journal that presented to us from one of our partners, Valerie Williams, who has a mother-daughter journal where the mothers and daughters journal together. It's a journal journey together. We were able to have those available. Not only that, I said in the during the broadcast that I was going to be providing strategy sessions for those who just wanted to sit down with a coach and just have a strategy session for the rest of the month of May. You could go on our website, Purposefully Authentic, and book a time there. Not only that, we did that. That was all wonderful. But listen, guys. We know that Mother's Day is a challenge for some that have no place to call their home, and so we were able to provide a Mother's Day meal. We were able to help to provide, because we partnered with a ministry here in Atlanta, and we were able to feed mothers and daughters at a local women's shelter, mothers and their children, not just daughters, their children at a local women's shelter. Listen, that's what, listen, making a difference and making an impact. That's what all this is for. Pain and glory, pain in the pews, all it's to make a difference. And I'm telling you, it was great. So Saturday was amazing. So I thank you all who tuned in. Thank you all for who watched the replay or going to watch the replay. Wonderful, wonderful time we had. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then the opportunity to events like this virtually is really a blessing because one of our guests joined us, and she was in a country at the time. She was in Mexico at the time, a live broadcast. So it afforded not only her to be able to be a part, but people literally from all over were tuned in. And I saw, uh, received some of the information back. It just did my heart good to see how many people would join. So thank you so much to everyone who participated and joined in. But listen, I don't know if you caught last week's PAYNE in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry broadcast, but listen, let me tell you guys, if you missed it, this is definitely one that is especially relevant for pastors, leaders, ministers, ministry leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders of any sort. This is a full message conversation, right? This is a conversation that we had the opportunity to kind of be privy to, if you will, that Bishop R. Christopher Brown had with two pastors that was impromptu. One third last week, the pastor then was in a restaurant, and he joined this conversation, and he was able to give some really profound message nuggets and some really profound information as pertains to the ministry, the heart of leaders, the heart of what happens in ministry. And so, when you accept that call, when you say yes to the call, rather, and so what that weight looks like. And so today we're continuing the conversation. This is part two, where Bishop Brown kind of picks up on the conversation, and we this conversation. So I invite you to join in on the conversation already in progress. So I am going to step aside so that you guys can in to the conversation and be a part. And I'm going to get out of the way. Enjoy.
Talk. Pastors, I want you to be encouraged. One of the points that we talked about a little earlier was the weight of optics. That sometimes what we see by way of Facebook Live and pics and pictures, and even what we see if we go into certain ministries, we may not understand how that one has such a weight that we may not be built for, and or number two, that it may not be what it seems. And there are pressures that pastors are under across the world that are universal. Then there's some that are just unique to their world perspective. Now, again, I know that we're talking about pastors, but this is not just a pastor's deal. This is elders, this is ministers, this is deacons, these are praise and worship leaders, these are artists. Yeah, there we go. Got you. These are artists and things like that. So it's not just pastor, it's pastor plus others to whom are suffering. And so then it's hard living up to something and having them place in front of us expectations and standards that have never been God's, number one, and we're under those pressures. Okay, it says it's at Pastor Mark, so we'll see if you can come on and click the green and white icon beside his comment box. All right, it says it's adding you, sir. So we shall see. All right, one other point while we're waiting to add him in. Watch this. Here's another statistic that just kind of blew my mind. Here we go. It said 28% of pastors feel guilty for taking personal time off and not telling the church. 28% of pastors report feeling guilty for having personal time off and not telling the church. 35% of pastors report the demands of the church deny them from spending time with their family. This stuff is real, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just something that we're kind of coming up with. And Lord, Bishop L. Spencer Smith is on live. And sir, if you stick around, I'd love for you to come on and speak some truth to this particular issue in the only way that L. Spencer Smith can. I have Pastor Mark Watson, Charlotte, North Carolina. The Link Church is on here, sir. And you and I kind of started the conversation earlier today about this epidemic, it feels like and seems like, called pastoral suicide. What's in your heart as it relates to this issue in this moment?
Well, Bishop, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. And as you said, we started this conversation this morning, and I think as a result of what we've witnessed over this weekend with the tragic passing of Pastor Drew, it just, is highlighting even more some of the issues that we know are there as pastors. And I feel as a young pastor, one of the things that we have to grapple with and contend with internally is success and what our definition of success is. I think as pastors and leaders, even if you're a business woman or man, you're trying to be successful. And what defines your success? Are you successful if you have 100 members? Are you successful if you have 200 members? What is your benchmark? And from the pictures that we've gleaned from Pastor Drew's church, it looked highly successful. I think some look at that and say, wow, I wish I could have that. Who is determining your value and your worth? And I think it is very troublesome for the pastor to measure their value and their worth off of the acclaim and the applause of the people. I mean, if we are allowing the people's applause and acclaim to be the benchmark for our value, then we're going to lose every time. Because a lot of us, we preach a message on Sunday, let's say, and the members come up to us and say, it's a great word, Pastor. I'm so blessed by your word. No matter how many members come up to us and say that, if we don't believe that internally, that we've done a good job and we fulfilled what God wanted us to do, you'll still go home depressed. You will still go home and lose every single time. So we've got to know what environment we're playing ball in, what environment we're actually doing ministry in. If you look at basketball, right? I used to play basketball in high school, and we went hard to win a championship. Now, if we were to measure our championship off of an NBA championship, we would minimize our championship every single time. You've got to know you're playing high school basketball. You're not playing college basketball. You're not playing NBA basketball. And when you win your level, you've got to know you have been successful. And with this social media culture, every Sunday as we go through our news feeds and we watch other people's services and we watch how many people got baptized, how many people got saved, if we don't have what we think they have gotten, then it hits us hard. It just to be transparent, Bishop, it really hits us hard. And I think that is one of the difficult things in our culture, is that we're trying to measure our success, our value off of somebody else's platform, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
We're trying to measure our success and our value off of someone else's platform. My God, Pastor Mark, yes, sir. And so success becomes relative then.
Yeah.
And in its relativity, in its relativity, we need to determine where and or what success looks like for us, so that we're not trying to run after a lion that doesn't belong to us, or
Right.
better stated in scripture terms, running after a giant that we can't defeat. Because I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the fact that what if some of the brothers to whom watched David go handle Goliath, and look at his success with that particular giant, and then assume that because they're kin, as it relates to brother or blood, thinking that they can go handle a giant as well, and they go run and literally die because that was not their platform of success.
Right.
That they were successful enough being a part of the army,
Yeah.
although the army ran. I mean, at least they put up a stand so that the giant didn't progress. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it may have stayed in spots, but it stayed in a spot. It didn't move further on the
Right.
army. Now they looked at what they did as a failure, but now that I'm thinking back through this, maybe it wasn't so much of a failure. I know the way we read it, saying that they ran from him, kind of paints a picture of failure. But
Right.
maybe it wasn't so much failure if we look at it in the sense that the giant never advanced either. So
Right.
although it kept spouting out its accusations against the army of the Lord, it never advanced on the army of the Lord as well. And so
Right.
then that what was painted as a failure was actually a success. And so my part was not to take him down. My part was to stop his progress. And if I celebrate that, then there's fulfillment that I receive as it relates to accomplishing what God called me to accomplish. And then let the Davids go handle cutting off heads, because my part was only stopping his progress.
That's so good, Bishop. That's so good, because we all play different roles. And maybe your job is just to hold back Goliath until David comes. And the problem is that when David kills Goliath, Saul is jealous, right? We all know that story. Saul is jealous. But maybe if Saul looked at it as a victory for everybody, then Saul would have seen the battle as a win for the kingdom, as a win for us all, and praise David instead of being jealous of David. And I feel like we can all gravitate to a Saul spirit because we feel like we're all supposed to kill Goliath. And maybe it's the kingdom that's supposed to kill Goliath.
Mm.
And we were supposed to be there to back David up and to cheer him on. I think Joseph is a real good example too, Bishop, because Joseph successful in every season of his life. If you chart the life of Joseph, when he goes into Potiphar's house, he is successful in Potiphar's house. He is so successful that the favor of God rests on him in Potiphar's house. And Potiphar makes him head over all of his house. Now, if Joseph were to squander that opportunity and see that Potiphar's house is not really where he wants to be, and he starts imagining what it would be like to be in Pharaoh's palace, then he will miss the opportunity of being successful in Potiphar's house. And there are stages to this, Bishop. There are seasons to this, Bishop, and we cannot squander the opportunity in Potiphar's house because we're looking forward to Pharaoh's palace. I mean, Joseph was so good with this because in every season, even when he's in the
Mm.
Joseph is successful because he's over all the prisoners. And
Mm.
Joseph was never looking forward to the next big thing. He was trusting God in every season and allowing God to raise him up where he was. And I feel like social media is causing us to feel like we've got to be in Pharaoh's palace tomorrow. We've got to be there tomorrow. And we're missing the favor of God right there in Potiphar's house, right there in the prison, because there's seasons
Yes,
to this
sir.
thing. So I think that being a young guy with this social media culture, there's oftentimes, Bishop, to be transparent, I come home from a Sunday and I'm feeling away. I'm feeling like it was a great Sunday, but I'm feeling away. And the more that I scroll through news feed, the more that I go on Instagram, it just makes me feel even more sad. And I'm wondering, why am I sad? Why haven't I accomplished what God wanted me to accomplish? There are times where we need to just a moment and spend time with our kids. There's times where we just need to put down the phone and say, you know what, today's not a good day. I'm not healthy enough to keep scrolling. I'm not healthy enough to go on somebody else's ministry and see all the thousands of people that came to their altar today and the few people that came to mine. And you just need to take time to find other outlets, to find other spaces to remain healthy and say, listen, I'm gonna spend time with my kids today, because they think I'm the greatest guy in the world. They think I'm the world's best dad. They love me, they run on me, they jump on me, and I can hardly do any wrong. That's a safe place for me. Bishop, you were talking with Pastor Wilson about Superman. And when you were talking about that, what the thought that came to me was that the people that are in Superman's world only see Superman. They never see Clark Kent, because they see Clark Kent as a different person than Superman.
Yeah.
But we, as the viewers that watch the movie or read the comics, we see both. We see Clark Kent and Superman. And I think it's a very healthy thing in this season, in this culture, to show your congregation Superman and Clark Kent. It's unhealthy because you cannot meet those expectations. You are Superman and you are Clark Kent. And
Amen.
that's the only way you can be vulnerable, the only way you can make mistakes and not kill yourself, because you're both. You're not one, you're both.
Pastor Mark, and I'm gonna let you go as well. Again, I don't want to strap you down and tie you guys down. I tied Wilson out longer than I meant to.
Yeah.
But sure. Let me tell you, one of the things that I remember hearing growing up was to never let them see you sweat. You know,
Yep.
they drilled that in our head. Never let them see you sweat. And so then this Superman complex became prevalent in the pulpit. And so they told you, you're never supposed to let Clark Kent out. You leave
Right.
Clark Kent in the office,
Yeah.
but you stand on the platform, you let them see the Superman, or you
Yeah.
in the office, and you bring Wonder Woman to the
Right.
platform, and and now you're doing all these spinning and tricks and knocking your braces together. Enemies are falling down. You're blowing your breath. I mean, all those things. Laser beam, and people are watching this champion uh, do those things for God. The the alter ego, or the actual real person, right? They're suffering in silence, and then we many times don't realize that it's too late until it's too late.
Yeah.
Because they told us you got to be tough. You got to show the tough man, the tough woman. You can't let them know that something hurts you. And I tell you, sir, I struggle with that. I struggle with letting my church know whenever I'm a little disappointed or hurt.
Right.
And this is not to make it a culture of that, but I do believe showing some of that can be healthy, both for the pastor and for the congregation.
Yeah.
Uh, any other thought that you would like to say
I
right
just
before we
yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I just want to say that as you were saying that, I realized that if Superman dies, so does Clark Kent. Family needs Clark Kent. They don't need Superman. And if Superman dies while you're on that stage, what is your family going to do? What are your friends going to do if Clark Kent is gone? Because that's who they really love. They don't
Yeah,
need the cape. They need the Clark Kent. So thank you so much, Bishop, for having me on. I know you
yeah.
got other people you want to bring in. I appreciate the conversation. It's a necessary one.
Sir, thank you for coming on, and we're going to continue this conversation. It won't end now.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Like wow, that just wow. All of that, just wow. Um, Great conversation. A conversation that needs to continue to happen, a conversation that needs to continue to go on. I have now, in my estimation, one of the greatest voices of our generation that I'm glad that's finally decided to open up his mouth and speak, and people are going to gather. I'm one of the ones. And so know that he's on live and is a blessing to me. And sir, I'd love for you. I don't know how long you've been listening, but I'd love for you to speak truth to some of the things that we've said and correct us
Oh
if you're
no.
wrong in anything that we've said or anything that I've. Well, I can't say correct the other two. Let me speak for me. You're
Whatever,
welcome
man.
to correct me because we submit to your bishopric and your.
Whatever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Could you
What,
speak a little
man?
bit?
First, a hearty Monday afternoon. What's up, brother? To be even um uh, honored to be a part of this Facebook Live, and then definitely, what a tremendous tragedy. What a tremendous yeah. Just I mean, but it so speaks to, I think, the times in which we live in terms of being trying to be a leader and trying to measure balance effort with success, and all of the things that Pastor was just saying are so poignant to the matter at hand. Last night I did a Facebook Live, and I didn't even know that he had passed away. I knew that he had pastor tried to take his life, but I didn't know that he lost his life. But what I was doing was talking about the keys to humanity,
Mm,
and one of the things, Bishop, that they don't teach us is how to understand humanity as a divine tool, a divine device that connects
mm,
us to God. When we do what we do, our humanity is oftentimes overlooked. We are placed in these positions, and no one ever does a psychological or emotional examination of people who are in power. It's coming to front now, coming to bear, but nobody checked out Saul's emotional stability when he
mm.
was, anointed king. You know why? Because all they wanted was a king. That's all they wanted. That's the scripture. All they wanted. Even the prophet told them that's not what you want. The Lord told them that ain't what you want. But the people wanted a king. The people wanted a. They didn't understand that Saul. If you understand when Saul is found, the Bible, tremendous envy. He is hiding among stuff, even though he is head and shoulders above the rest. Historians describe Saul as a very beautiful, handsome man.
Mm-hmm.
Internally, there are things that we see in the scripture that are going on emotionally and mentally with Saul, and yet he is demanded to be the king. He is the selection to be the king. And so, even is till now, we talk a lot about emotional and mental health, but as long as the people have a king, and listen to me, I don't definitely blame the people for desiring leadership and
Right,
desiring successful leadership. I
right.
don't, but I do think that if they don't know how to handle the humanity of leadership, and
Yes.
whenever you reject my humanity and force me to mobilize in divinity, here's what I said last night. I do that, you cause me to have a false feeling based upon a real feeling, right? You have to I then get in a position to where I have to have a false feeling from a real feeling. And because people don't understand that we really feel, then we have to hide, and we have to maneuver around the pain, the disgust, the feelings of both success and victory, because victory
Yes.
comes with pressure. That comes
Yes.
because now if you win one time, you gotta win again. If
Yes.
you got one big conference that was packed out, guess what? You gotta have another conference. If you got folks, 1,000 people to come next week, everybody is looking for 1,001, right?
Yes.
Because Saul is never happy about killing his thousands. He is always happy about them cheering about David's 10,000s. So
Mm-hmm.
the last pastor was absolutely right. But nobody really cares about the humanity of leadership, because
Mm,
we become, the higher we go, the more we become the standard in the minds of
mm,
people. And
mm-hmm.
so when you take away my humanity, and that my humanity is also a divine intention of God. My
Right,
humanity is what is the vehicle for my divinity. And so
right.
if you take me being able to take care of my humanity and just leave me to my divinity, I want to say this again, you force me to have a false feeling based upon a real feeling. And I don't know what to do with my feelings. I don't know what to do with the fact that I feel insecure. Even though I got all of the trophies in my cabinet, I feel insecure. And we've got to talk to not just leaders about being transparent, but we got to also talk about the people who are led by leaders when their transparency is wrong. Your leader needs patience. But listen, and here's the truth of the matter. Like other no other occupation, the pastor has to think about, when I go on vacation with my family, are the folks going to come?
Right,
Because we got to think about finances. Because
right.
let's just tell the truth, a lot of people are raggedy.
Yes,
Okay, you shouldn't
yes.
have brought me on here. It's Monday and I'm unfiltered. A lot of folks are raggedy. They are idol driven. They are personality driven, and a lot of ministries are built on that same idol. A
There's,
lot of them. A lot of them. A lot of them. It's toxic relationship between pulpit and pews, that I believe that God is revealing that our mutual need for Him. Why are we doing what we're doing? Is it to be loved by people? And for the people, is it to have
mm-hmm.
Bishop? I refuse to die and leave my wife and children with insurance money and tears. I refuse to do that. No, I refuse to do that. No
Sir.
church, no church, and I love the Impact Nation, but church and no member means that much to me, because you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna find somebody else to eyes, right?
Yes, sir.
They leave when we're alive. So you know they're gonna leave when we dead. When we dead. So I
But
mean,
Bishop, Bishop, let me ask though, because see
yeah,
now you kind of grew up in the same I did, and so you know that regime that taught us
yeah,
not to show our humanity. I mean,
absolutely,
it was drilled in us to not show our humanity, to
yeah,
never let it be a sweat, to always point victory, and any mentioning of breaks or hurts or whatever shows the people that you're not fit to lead. Okay,
right,
that was one era, and of
yeah,
course they ingrained that in us. Then started seeing some of them falling, leaders falling. We watched the people's response to that, or any leader that dared to say
there,
I'm hurting. We watched how the people responded to that leader who said they were hurting, and the mass exodus. And you're right, all the things that we have to think through as we stand up to keep the church rolling and going. So with that being said, how do we walk, and I'm sure gingerly, number one, but how do we walk towards allowing for there to be those moments of humanity and keeping a balance so that we don't become whiners but winners?
right. Well, I believe in Jesus as our pattern in all things, who was fully human and fully divine. And what Jesus did when his humanity was worn down, he had no problem saying, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. That was not an issue for him. What Jesus did do was his humanity was so connected to God that he knew how to bring his humanity back to the one that gave him that form, so that it could be replenished and filled. He knew when to draw from the multitudes. He knew when to pull himself aside from, with his inner circle. And I think inner circle is very, very important. I think it's in inner circles. If it had not been for an ability to text you and to text the other few other pastors, on our level, who understand the level of triumph and trauma
Yes.
that we go through, then you know, and you and I. But we have to make it seem all right. I lived in that kind of, I was raised by that kind of pastor. My granddaddy was that kind of person who went, traveled, pastor for 50 years, pastor 2 churches, went to see everybody in the hospital, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then when he was old and died, very, very few of those people showed up for him. And so you saw what was left was a shell of a man who died not from the disease he had. He died and gave up fighting because of a broken heart, because all of those years that he had poured into those people, in his moment of humanity, in his where sickness attacked his humanity, that nobody showed up. And so
Mm.
what I'm saying is we've got to dare to understand that we have not a high priest that cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was at all points tempted such as we. So
Yes.
there is a bishop, number one, that Jesus shows us we're going to be touched, and the people need to know we are touched just like them. We get tempted just like them. We get angry just like them. We get fed up just like them. We go off just like them, but without sin. That's the part that as leaders we have to master. Because again, that's why I said my humanity is also a divine intent, not just my divinity, but my humanity has been fashioned by to carry my divinity, to carry his will, the anointing that he gives me, the gifting and all of that. And so we just got to change the narrative and begin
Yes.
to speak to people. And look, if one day, you know, and here's the deal, you can have 1,000 members, but if the right 5 leave, you had a bad day. And
A
that's the
bad.
truth. That's the
Yes, sir.
truth. You can have
Yes, sir.
5,000 members, but if the 2 who you were depending on leave you, it is like you lost the 5,000. And that
Mhm.
is what people need to understand. Folks like, well, they got a packed church. It don't matter. If you get betrayed by the right person, those 10,000 people do not matter like that.
Mm.
That's just how it is. Because whoever I become naked with, if they leave me, they automatically take my heart and my secrets. I'm
Yes.
not revealing my humanity to 5,000 people. But five, those five that's why Jesus was asking, y'all 3 can't tarry with me for 1 hour.
For one
Y'all
hour.
falling asleep on my humanity.
Yes.
I expect everybody else to leave me, but not y'all,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so, you know, it is very important, Bishop, that this conversation goes along, because again, I think we've got to begin to speak about not just divinity, sir, but healthy humanity. We as pastors, people, and show them, yes, that we are human. When we in that pulpit, and I heard you, man, when we in that pulpit, Superman comes out. But in
Yes,
that
sir.
office, we got Clark Kent. We
Yes,
got
sir.
Clark Kent that we probably need to, not probably, every pastor needs a therapist, or somebody who they can talk to, an inner
Yes.
circle. You know, somebody who can say, you know what, I feel like blowing up all of this joint and just leaving and go work at McDonald's. But we all need that, and that's
Yes.
not weakness, because if it's weak for me, it's weak for Jesus,
Right. Right. And it's not weak for him.
and it's not.
Bishop, yeah, this has to be a conversation. It
Absolutely,
has to be a conversation because we're losing too many talented, gifted voices who are not finished.
absolutely.
And the unfinished work makes it more arduous for the next generation, because now it means the next generation has to go back and pick up the unfinished as
Yeah,
well as finish their part. And so that's an extra weight that should not be done. And if we don't take a moment and speak to these voices, these gifted voices, these poignant voices, these potentially great voices, and ones who are already great, then we're going to lose the value that God placed in them for us, simply because they've snuffed out the earth, and or someone burnt up the oil of that light way before the time, because
and
the
and,
oil
and
was placed.
right, and Bishop, and I'm about to go eat lunch with my pretty wife. But here's the
Go
deal.
ahead.
Here's the deal. The truth of the matter is this: we all, and we don't all weigh the same.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand that. The call of God causes us to have a different kind of weight than somebody who is not called to do what we're called to do. And so when the Bible says, touch not mine anointed and do my prophet no harm, and David's honor of an evil Saul who was out to get him, and David said, I will not kill him because that's the Lord's anointed. David understood weights. And not only did David understand weights, that Saul weighs more than me right now. He's the
Mm.
king.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the deal, but he also sees his future. He says, but I'm going to be the king. And if I kill a king, I get permission for me to be killed while I'm king. And so a lot of people speak against men and women of God in the pews, not understanding their future, not understanding that they're sowing seeds, even in our frailty, even in our humanity, even when we don't get it right, even when we're prideful and we're arrogant and we're angry and all those different kinds of things. You have to be careful about how you speak against the Lord's weight. You got to be careful, because what will happen is that you will sow a seed against your own future. See, nobody was able to kill David, even when they were mad, because David didn't kill a king. See, so if you kill a king, when you become a king, you get permission to kill the king. I want to
Amen.
say that to everybody that's looking on here that's like, well,
That you got as much out of tonight's message from Bishop R. Christopher Brown III and his special guest that came on. I hope that you were able to hear the heart of leaders that maybe don't get a chance to share that kind of intimate conversation over the pulpit or through the through social media when they're doing the social media broadcast. But this was an impromptu, this is part two of an impromptu conversation between the leaders. And I really appreciate Bishop Brown for allowing me to share that with you guys on tonight. The cost of yes, this was part two. I am so grateful that he allowed us to be able to hear and to receive what we heard on tonight. Because listen, I know we talk about pain in the pews, and pain in the pews is definitely the platform, but understanding that pain in the pews does not negate pain in the pulpit. So I thank you guys for tuning in. Listen, we are going to be doing this again and again and again, because as we said at the beginning, our goal is to bridge the gap between mental health and ministry. And what they were speaking about definitely talks about, that struggle of that humanity, as the last pastor was talking about, last bishop was talking about, and that divinity, being able to put those emotions in check and be able to be human, and also be able to be who God divinely called them to be as leaders. And not only, as the other pastor said, not only for pastors and leaders and elders and ministry leaders, but whether you're a leader in any aspect or capacity. So I'm so grateful to you for being a part of tonight's broadcast. Listen, we would love for you to partner with us by making a contribution to us to further our efforts. And we're wanting to extend again. I think this will be our fourth or maybe even our fifth year of offering mental health first aid. We want to be able to do that. We want to be able to help our caregivers with the Caregivers Philanthropic Fund that we have here at Pain and Glory, as well as having more initiatives like what we did on Saturday, where we were able to be a blessing to the women's shelter, my sister's house here in Atlanta. So your generous donations help us to do things like that. So to give, you have it up on your screen. It's $ Pain and Glory if you want to do it via Cash App or PayPal. That is cpain@painandglory.com. We would love to receive your donations and be a blessing to others. Listen, in the meantime, in the between time, don't forget, this whole week is National Women's Health Week. Go and have your cholesterol checked. Go and get the girls checked. Do all the things that you need to do. Make your appointment. Even if you can't get in this week, I understand, doctors are booked up. But and don't forget, you can do it virtually. That's great if it's not something that you just need to, if it's just a checkup or whatever. Listen, Go make your appointment. Even if you can't get in this week, go make your appointment this week. It's National Women's Health Week. Your health and wellness are important. Don't forget, health and wellness doesn't always only mean your physical body. Make an appointment with a therapist. You'll be surprised how amazing it is. We want to make sure that all of us, the entire mind, body, and spirit, is taken care of. So listen, have an amazing week. And I mean, have an amazing week on purpose. We love you, and we'll see you on next Monday right here for the PAYNE in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry Facebook Live broadcast. We will see you next week.